Thank you guys so much for tuning in to today's SheBoss. This is one that holds a very, very special place in my heart for many, many reasons. But Bailey Erickson with Wafel-Bitte is joining me today, and we're surrounded by her delicious waffles. And if you have not tried them, you must crawl out from underneath the rock you are living in and make sure that you get some. So Bailey, thank you so much for joining us today. Of course, we're having mimosas, but it's in coffee mugs. Why not? That's okay. Yeah, coffee and waffles, you know? Mm-hmm. So, Bailey has been, from a Flourish perspective and, you know, from the women that we admire in our circle, you have been one that sits at the top for so long, and I'm so honored to call you my friend. Not only my friend, but someone who, watching her story unfold over the past couple of years has just been so inspirational and so amazing. And anybody who has seen her out and about in Huntsville and has tasted the most amazing waffles you'll ever put in your mouth knows what admiration you put into this business. I mean, literally blood, sweat, and tears. And it was something that upon learning your story with starting this business was mind-blowing to me because of why you started it, who you started it with, and really what the intent was with why you started it. And now it is taking off like crazy, which is amazing. And it's sort of like, what do we do with all this? You know, it's so much excitement. So let's just dive right in and just share your story a little bit. We're going to get to the waffles in just a minute because you're so much more than just waffles. There's a lot more to you. And a lot of people don't, you know, may not have the opportunity to learn a little bit more about you. And your story is fascinating. And it's one that, not to get dramatic, but it's a little bit gripping at times as well. Truly, as I've gotten to know you, I'm like, holy cow, you are such a powerhouse. So let's just start from the beginning and kind of share a little bit about your story and where you're from and kind of what your career path looked like. And then we'll talk about some waffles.
All right. I'm from New York, Buffalo, New York. And I have two amazing children. One, Christian, he's an engineer here in Huntsville. And my daughter, Alexis, is in the Air Force in Germany. I was in the Air Force for 4 years, and then I went into federal law enforcement for 28 years, and I retired in 2016 from federal law enforcement. I opened a private investigation business called Gemini for 5 years. And I closed that during COVID. My daughter and I were sitting around the kitchen and thinking of making something that makes people happy. And she always had that entrepreneurial spirit. When there used to be the Madison Square Mall, she would see an open space and she'd say, "Oh, Mama, I want to put, you know, whatever, a bakery in there." So I thought before she left for the Air Force, I would teach her how to start a business so she would have that skill for the rest of her life. And we had to come up with an idea, obviously. And because we spent 8 years in Europe before we moved to Madison, we remembered these Belgian Liege waffles. And so we started a little journal, and we tried different recipes until we finally wrote down, we nailed it. We adjusted these recipes to where it was a waffle that we remember tasting in Belgium, and it's the Liege waffle. And as you probably know, because I probably have told you, there are two kinds of Belgian waffles. One is the Brussels waffle, which is rectangular shaped, and they put all sorts of toppings on it. The waffle that we make is the Liege waffle, and it's from the city of Liege, and they use pearl sugar, and this pearl sugar here caramelizes inside the waffle, and it's absolutely delicious.
It knocks your socks off.
Yeah.
It's like a little bite of magic that you just don't expect. You cannot eat another waffle after you've eaten these waffles. I'm just saying. Yeah.
I think you called them little love drops the last time I talked to you.
Probably.
Yeah.
My kids will refuse to eat anything else besides your waffles from now on. You ruined them, so thank you for that. I know.
You're welcome. Well, now I have some more. So Alexis and I came up with the idea for the Belgian waffles, and then I taught her how to get her business license and how to get the LLC and QuickBooks and marketing and trying to figure out where we were going to sell them. And that was in September of 2020 during COVID. And then she left for the military in October of 2020. And I really thought that this idea was going to flop and that I could just continue my retirement, but as it turned out, this is an unusual idea and people absolutely love these waffles. So I just couldn't give it up. You know, I wanted to continue to make people happy, especially during COVID. So we continued on through making these at markets, and then people asked us to start making the mix. And I don't know how far you want me to go into that.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So we started making the mix. We have a commercial kitchen here at Fig Brew, and if you haven't had Fig Brew, it's absolutely delicious. It's coffee's mellow mate, they call it, because it's made out of figs, so it doesn't mess your stomach up. Anyway,
it's delicious. Another Huntsville-based company.
Yes,
right?
Yes, absolutely. They're wonderful. So we started making the mix, and people loved it. And then I noticed that a lot of people at markets wanted gluten-free, so we made a gluten-free mix as well. From there, we started selling in retail stores in the area, and then we have an Amazon store and a Shopify store. We went to Atlanta's market this past summer, and now we are in stores across the United States.
Which is just insane.
Yeah.
How many states carry?
I don't.
Any idea? Okay.
I'm not really sure. And we recently were contacted by a company called Von Mauer, and they have 38 stores, and they're a more high-end department store, and so we are a vendor for them. We are in the Dallas Market showroom, permanently on display, available for buyers around the U.S. Yeah, so
it's just exploded beyond what you originally thought it was going to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, kind of going back to your career a little bit. Okay. When you left the federal government and you started your own business with Gemini, what sort of sparked your idea to do that, and what were some of the challenges that you faced when starting that business? And I would love to hear, too, about some of your stories of being a private investigator and your history and what you did previously. At least what you can share of it is pretty fascinating. I mean, pretty fascinating.
Well, the last 16 years I spent investigating major fraud against the government. So major fraud would be more than $100,000 fraud against the government, but usually the U.S. attorneys wanted us to have cases that we found $1 million or more in fraud. And what we would do is we would work the investigation, and when I was in Europe, I flew into Kosovo quite a bit, and I worked on log cap contracts, billion-dollar contracts, and different fraud schemes that were pretty funny. I think I told you my one funny story about flying into Macedonia.
I don't think so.
So I had to fly into Kosovo to work an investigation. And this agent that I was working with, I told him, I said, the road in between Kosovo and Macedonia, there's been a landslide, so we cannot drive in there. And he said, "Oh, that's okay, Bailey, just get air support." Remember this?
Yeah.
And I said, we can just call down there and get air support. And he said, "Yeah, just call down to Camp Bonsteel and ask for air support." So I was like, okay. So I called Camp Bonsteel and I said, I need to get into Macedonia. So the guy on the flight line said, "Oh, okay, just be on the VIP landing pad at 7 a.m. So we flew into Kosovo on Friday, 7 a.m. We were at the landing pad, and we got on this helicopter and flew into Macedonia, and the doors were sliding on this aircraft, and the pilot said, "If you see any sniper fire coming up, let me know." And I'm thinking, what is going on here? And then I looked at the agent that I flew in there with, and he said, "Good job, Bailey. I've never seen anybody get air support before." And I said, "You have got to be kidding me." And so he just wanted to see if I could do it.
Putting you out for a little challenge. You didn't even realize what's happening. Yeah.
So, so I investigated around Europe, Kosovo, England, the Netherlands, Germany. everywhere.
Can I ask, just more out of curiosity, what's been one of the most bizarre fraud cases you've been able to identify and stop? I mean, when I think of fraud against the federal government, I think of like tax evasion and stuff like that, right? Like, what are some of the ones that stand out as maybe highlights or key memories from your career in doing that?
I think a guy that was laundering money out of Iraq, he set up a scheme where all these trucks had to take supplies to different FOBs, different forward operating bases, and he would set up this scheme where the guys would pay him kickbacks as long as they got to take the loads out. And then he brought all this money back to the United States through 5 different people. And the only reason he got caught is because everyone thought, how can you afford all these vehicles and all these renovations to your house and all these things? And so he was acting like Mr. Big Guy, and he got caught. So really, you just catch the stupid ones, right?
So talk about Gemini. When you started that, how did that kind of come to fruition? And I mean, starting a business is no easy feat, as you know. What you do now is very different from what you were doing then. But what are some of the, not necessarily stumbling blocks, what were some of the challenges that you faced, and what were some of the things that you learned from that really influenced you to want to teach Alexis how to also take that path?
Well, with Gemini, I basically did the same thing I did as an agent, but as a private investigator. It was kind of like investigating with your hands tied behind your back because you no longer had access to the things that you did as an agent. And so that was different. And of course, you're working by yourself.
Did you specialize in the same thing?
Yes. So whistleblowers would come to a law firm and say, Company A is putting this bolt on the Apache and it's bringing the aircraft down and killing soldiers. So then I would interview everyone involved and put the case together and then go to Birmingham and meet with an assistant U.S. attorney and present it to them and the agents that I used to work with.
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah.
That is wild. Did you serve clients that were here mainly in this area or all over the world?
Yes, and I didn't even want to start, but a law firm reached out to me and said, we heard you're a retired fraud agent and we need your help.
Okay.
And then they said, could you come in on Monday? And I came in on Monday and they said, how much will you charge per hour? And I told them and they said, okay, your first client's out in the hall. I mean, out in the hall.
Wow.
I was not prepared to start, but yeah.
And it just took off from there.
Yeah. So it went really well, except that I learned attorneys don't pay you. Like there's the one attorney that I worked really hard for, and he still owes me almost $40,000. He sends me $300 a month. That's it. And no one will sue him. No other attorney will sue him because he's an attorney, and I've been to the Bar Association.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so he owes me all this money. I'll probably die before I ever get
Oh my gosh.
the money back. But isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I spent so many hours working for him.
Wow. That's mind-blowing. That is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And as a small business owner too, that's a challenge, right? Because you don't really know what resources you have at your disposal, and you're kind of figuring that out as you go a little bit. Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's crazy. So let's talk a little bit about Alexis's journey, if we can.
Of course.
Because I know that, you guys started this together. And out of curiosity, was this a COVID passion project, or did you want to start a business with her before that even became a thing? And I know that really, influenced a lot of people to sort of think outside the box and, just come up with different ideas to approach challenges that maybe they hadn't thought about previously. Was that always something that you wanted to do with her before she left for the Air Force, or did COVID sort of spark that for you?
COVID sparked it because we were isolated and we were together, and I always wanted to teach her how to start a business before she left because I thought she could carry that skill with her.
Yeah.
And as a business owner yourself, you know that the difference between between people is people carry all these ideas, these wonderful ideas in their head, and they don't follow through. Yeah. And if they follow through, they can be very successful. And there are so many places in Huntsville that want you to succeed.
Yeah.
like the Catalyst Center, the SBDC at UAH. They want to help people take their idea and make it successful.
Yeah. Did you tap into some of those resources as
did.
you guys were getting started? Talk a little bit about that and what you leaned into.
The Catalyst Center for Business and Entrepreneurship had a thing called Boots to Business. So it was for military going into small business. So that was a great start for me. And they were just always there with coaching and legal and all different information that they provided to help me move my business forward.
Yeah. The Catalyst Center here in Huntsville, which used to be the Women's Business Center, is right over by UAH and has a ton of phenomenal resources that help. I mean, before starting Flourish, I engaged with the Catalyst as well. And they used to have the Engage program where I think it was a once a month and you would come in and shout out to Erin Bloxam Curtis. She was running that program at the time. And now Lisa Mays is doing a phenomenal job over there as their CEO, and her entire team are fantastic. But they really tell you those things that you don't know, because you don't know what you don't know. And I think for me, coming in, and I'm sure it was similar to you, where you sit down and you have an assessment and you talk about your challenges, and you have business coaches say, you really need to get a lawyer on your side, or you really need to think about getting an accountant for these reasons, and you just, you don't know, especially when you lead with an idea as opposed to leading with the desire to be an entrepreneur, which I think there's a very big difference there. Very big difference there. So that's fantastic. Yeah. So the Catalyst Center for Business and Entrepreneurship was great. SBDC over at UAH, phenomenal organization. Hillary and her team do such a great job. And did you leverage any of their resources at all? Well, I guess probably not. So post-COVID, for a lot of those businesses that were in existence, what a phenomenal resource they were at that time with, helping to implement the PPP loans to help and just sort of figure out like how, not loopholes, but, what workarounds, I guess, can entrepreneurs face kind of during that time of things that they just don't know, where they can go. So many great resources there for sure. Yeah. Have you always had a passion for cooking, or did it just... And now you find yourself in the kitchen pretty often, right? Yeah.
Yes.
What about Alexis? Is she
wants to start a bakery.
I was going to say, going back to her thought about the bakery. Yeah. So this is this something that she's not really doing now, obviously, because she's, in the Air Force full time. And
we did make waffles together last week for the Air Force troops.
You did?
In Germany, yeah.
That's fantastic. So you were there last week, spending some time with her before the holidays. Yep, and we talked about, there's lots of Christmas markets over there, lots of Christmas markets here. It is Christmas time here. But so how was that experience, and just kind of getting back together with her and kind of bringing back to the roots of where this business came to be?
It was great. I've been there so many times. I've been there 5 times already since she's been stationed in Germany. And when my legal name is Erickson-Nichols, and so when I drive through the Air Force Base gate, they say, "Good morning, Mama Nichols. Are you going to make us some waffles this time?"
So you've built a reputation there.
So they know me, and they're just waiting for the waffles.
Yeah.
And it's just so fun.
That's awesome.
We made Thanksgiving dinner for them, and
that is awesome. That's amazing. Fun. Yeah. That's so fun. Yeah. So there's been a lot of exciting things that have happened with these since you started. I know you've gone through a little bit of a rebrand with your packaging. And so talk about some of those hurdles that, looking back, what are some things, if any, that you would have done different, or even just, and this is a very, the food industry and retail industry is very unique. Very unique. So what have been some of the things that maybe have caught you off guard or surprised you, or that you've kind of learned, like if you were to go back around and do it again, that maybe could help out another business owner in the same position?
I don't think I would have called this business Wafel-Bitte. It means waffle please in German. And everyone walks up, "Oh, let's go get a waffle bite."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, why did I call it that?"
Yeah.
But then there are other people that say, "Well, it's perfect. It's fine. You did great with this, so don't worry about it." So I would have thought about the name, but I really did not think this was going to go anywhere. Honestly.
Yeah.
I just. So what other things? I've learned about pricing for packaging and different packaging like I put the U.S. and Belgium on here, women-owned, a veteran-owned business. Everyone has, all these business coaches that I've had, they all have different ideas for you, but yeah, you just have to, I would say, get as much training as possible from the Small Business Development Center at UH. And Michelle Klosky actually did help me quite a bit over there during COVID. I have a picture of us delivering waffles to her with masks on during COVID.
Michelle is amazing.
She is. I love her.
She is amazing. Yeah.
She was my advisor.
She went to the same high school as my sister.
She did?
Like, just totally random. We were chatting about that one day, and they went to the same exact high school, graduated same year, everything. Like, what are the chances of that?
A small
world. Land in Huntsville. Yeah.
Yeah.
But love her. Her and Hillary are amazing. So shout out to them for sure. Yeah, their team is great. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I've learned a lot of things about packaging, and I started to learn the word no, because everybody asks you to do different things. And if you're the only one working the business, you have to learn to limit. I do have other people, of course, working for me seasonally. I have people helping me in the kitchen and at events, doing administrative stuff like putting labels on and this and that. But
yeah, and you're at a lot of events.
Yeah,
you do a lot. So talk a little bit about that and how Huntsville's been supportive of you in that regard, because there's a lot of opportunities I think that you've really leaned into, and you've seen some great success from that, right?
Yeah, we started at the Madison City Farmers Market and Green Street and Mid-City, and we just sign up for as many events as we possibly can to get the word out. And people now have made this a part of their family traditions for Christmas and Thanksgiving. They come up to us and say, "Oh, I'm so glad you're here because I want to make this for Thanksgiving." We make this every Thanksgiving now with our family, and they'll make the waffles and make a tray, and then they'll put toppings around, and then everybody gets to put their own toppings. They don't really need a topping.
Don't need a topping.
Yeah.
It is pure perfection as is, in my personal opinion. It is. They're the best. They're so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was telling Bailey before we sat down for this that, not to throw anybody under the bus, but a very, very, very well-known restaurant outside of Nashville that's been around forever, very well-known for their biscuits and gravy and chicken fried steak and their jams. Madison, my daughter, their blackberry jam is what we give her for inner stocking stuffer every year, one of the things. But my sister sends me a Christmas gift every year of a big box from this place of different biscuit mixes and waffle mixes and all of that. And we made their Belgian waffles this past Sunday, and it was so disappointing to eat those waffles after eating your waffles. And my kids ask for it all the time. And when you try one, especially when they're fresh off, there's something so special about what you and Alexis have created, not only in the brand itself, but in the actual, they're just so good. And you see a lot of companies, I think, in this space where there's a lot of hype around the brand, and then you're somewhat disappointed, right? It's kind of like, that was all right, not necessarily worth the price or, worth all the hoopla. Yours times 10 just level up to the expectation there. And I think the expectation it just surpasses, I think, what you ever expect. And they're just so phenomenal that you guys have just nailed it. And I know you're technically in retirement, but what does slowing down look like for you? What are the next steps with where this is going to go, and what can we expect from Wafel-Bitte moving forward?
Well, we just partnered with Lux Brew Cafe in Madison.
Yes.
And tomorrow I'll be going over there to teach them how to make the waffles.
Good.
And
Good. I was there yesterday. I'm like, where are the waffles?
Did you ask
She's
them?
like, we haven't started selling them yet, but we're going to.
Yeah.
So we were talking about it for a while. So
yeah, they were waiting for me to come back from Germany.
Good.
Yeah. So our goal is to be in coffee shops across the U.S. so that people are making our waffles fresh.
Yep.
And of course, be on the shelf. I would love to be on the shelf at the Defense Commissary, because so many military members have been in Europe and know these waffles.
Yeah.
And when military members try our waffles, they're like, this is exactly what they taste like.
Yeah.
So that makes it all worthwhile.
It absolutely does. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's possible that we may have either a food truck or a brick and mortar coming up. We're going to see how that goes, but I know that people love tasting these fresh off the waffle maker, so that might be something that happens.
Yeah, that is exciting. So retirement's not in the very near future for you like you thought it was.
No.
Sometimes life just does that, right? Things just happen for a certain reason. It just wasn't your time.
Yeah.
So, and at the same time, you're making so many people happy. So thank you for doing that.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm excited because we get a chance to make some waffles and see how this all comes together. And again, I think most people don't realize the influence and the significance of the sugar pearls, because those are little pops of goodness that you just can't beat anywhere. So
Right.
we're going to make some waffles.
Let's make some waffles.
Let's make some waffles.
So this is where all the magic happens, and first things first, I think we should start maybe in the line of designer hairnets, because we make them look so fabulous. But one of the things that a lot of people don't realize about Wafel-Bitte is that, as Bailey was just saying, it is an absolute experience. And the magic is in a variety of different steps, but one of which happens to be the sugar pearls, or the pearl sugars. Yeah, so walk us through, after you make the batter, and the batter has risen, you need to give it about an hour and a half to rise. That's one of those things. So you wake up on a Sunday morning before your kids get out of bed, make it, let the batter rise, right? And then when they come down, I always let Jack put the sugar pearls in, which is his favorite part because he puts a couple in his mouth, of course.
Yeah. Or you can make it the night before
Oh, and so it can
and
let
let
it
it rise in the refrigerator.
Perfect. So this is not a just add water, cardboard kind of waffle.
No.
This is a put the love into it and make it work, and
Yes.
trust me, it is well worth the experience. So
Yes.
you put the sugar pearls in. They even sound magical.
So these pearls this is made out of beets that are grown in Belgium.
Beets?
Beets.
Oh, like sugar beets.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yep.
okay.
And so that is one thing that almost I thought was going to cause my business to fail because of the war in the Ukraine. I couldn't get this pearl sugar, and it's absolutely necessary to have the pearl sugar so that it'll be authentic, right? Because when you put this pearl sugar next to cane sugar in a frying pan, this will not melt. It's very hard to melt. The cane sugar that Americans use, it melts quickly, right?
Oh,
That's why this caramelizes inside the waffle maker.
gotcha.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Heat up your waffle maker.
Yeah, heating it up. And then you just take one scoop, put it in the middle, close it, flip it over. I only spray the waffle maker one time, the first time, because there's plenty of butter in here. And it usually takes 3 minutes and 22 seconds to make a waffle.
And so the batter, what comes in the package is the batter, the yeast, and the sugar pearls. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and then you add butter,
Eggs, butter, vanilla.
eggs, butter, and vanilla. Yes. Mix it all up, let it sit, add the sugar pearls, and then put it in.
Yes.
So
And then you get this. It looks like a brioche. It's very thick. It's not your American watery kind of batter.
And the smell, oh my gosh, the smell is intoxicating. It just smells like a buttery, sugary, velvety something or other. I don't know what, but it smells. You should think about talking with Pizzelles and doing a Wafel-Bitte cocktail of some sort. I can totally see that happening.
Oh, yeah.
Or do something with an espresso martini even. I know those are,
Oh,
the girls
yes.
love those these days.
Oh, that would be great.
So talk a little bit about the difference between the sugar beets and cane sugar. I didn't realize there was such a big difference between the two. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
I don't know the exact process of how they manufacture the sugar beets into this pearl sugar, but I just know that, for example, during when the war in the Ukraine started, the Ukraine grows wheat for Europe. So they told Belgium, you need to cool it on making the beets for the pearl sugar you need to start growing more wheat because of the war. So then I couldn't get pearl sugar. And then I found out my supplier, there's hardly anybody that provides this sugar. Okay, it's very hard to find. That's why it's very expensive. So the guy that was selling me the pearl sugar became my competitor because he saw me on Amazon. So he jacked up my prices. And then he stopped giving me sugar. He stopped giving me sugar.
Don't ever stop giving up the sugar.
Right.
Come on.
So he stopped giving me sugar, period. So then I reached out to the manufacturers in Europe and I said, look, I'm trying to get pearl sugar. I'm this little company in Alabama. And so they said, we will only give it to Europeans because of the war in the Ukraine is causing a reduction and blah, blah, blah. Let me check this. Excuse me. Ooh, look at that. Bam. Look at that delicious goodness.
Oh my goodness. And the sugar is just like, oh gosh.
You girls have to try one of those.
The smell is phenomenal.
So, yeah, so the guys in Europe, they told me that they weren't going to give it to me, and then I kept bugging them, and they finally gave me the name of a guy in California that had some, so he gives me the pearl sugar, and there's another guy in Brooklyn that's going to start giving me some of it too.
Oh.
But, yeah, it's quite a process trying to get this stuff. You want to try it?
I absolutely do, yes.
Let me get some. I'm sorry, I don't have any plates.
So, the smell is something that it slap your mama good. And I don't know what else to say. It is so delicious and tasty. It just smells, it's phenomenal.
So in Belgium, they hand this to you like a dessert.
Like a dessert.
And you can just walk around the city and enjoy Brussels because there's no syrup or anything to fall down.
It should be illegal.
This guy called me a legal crack dealer.
I get it. This is like, I don't know what crack is like, but
I
if
don't
I
either.
had to imagine it might be something similar.
Yeah.
So good. And it's so good. Let me see. And I think one of the things about your waffles is there is zero syrup required, zero anything else required, just this, because it has this lasting kind of permeation of flavor that just like trickles to your taste buds.
Yeah.
And it's light and fluffy, then you have those pops and crystal, the sugar that kind of come out.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it. I could eat these for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I will say, this should not be just a holiday delicacy. This should be an every Sunday morning, get your family around the kitchen table and eat waffles all day long.
Yeah.
You know, this is, I don't know. You just made my day. Not that you did it before, but oh my God, so good.
I can't wait for you girls to
I know.
try these.
Let's take a break. You guys need to eat some. So good. They're so warm, buttery, and flaky.
See, that's why I want to have a restaurant. Yeah.
You should try some. Seriously. They're fantastic. I don't know what else to say. I think the team behind the scene is so happy right now. I don't think we're going to get any work done the rest of the day, but that's okay because they're fantastic. So, Wafel-Bitte, the best waffles you will ever have in your entire life. Thank you so much for letting us tell your story and just be part of your day today and interrupt your day a little bit too. But it's been so much fun, and I always adore seeing you. So, yes, thank you so much. We'll see you guys later.